Welcome to Human Risk, a podcast dedicated to the understanding of human behaviour as a risk. Here's your host, Christian Hunt.
Hello and welcome back to the Human Risk podcast. On this episode, I'm returning to the subject of communicating effectively in a virtual environment. My guest, Mark Bowden, is a body language expert who is well known for advising senior business leaders, celebrities and politicians on how to present themselves. He's also the author of a number of best-selling books on communication and body language. Given his expertise in how to look good on camera, I was delighted when during COVID lockdown, Mark released a series of videos that are designed to help people be better at their video interactions online. In them, he covers everything from the equipment you should buy or not buy, and techniques for how to present more effectively online. So I thought I'd get Mark onto the show to talk about how you become a body language expert and the lessons we can learn from his experience about how to make a great impression in a virtual environment. The human risk angle here is that if we want to avoid misunderstandings, then we need to know how to engage with other people in a virtual world, particularly if you're in a role like compliance or ethics that involves influencing others. As you'll discover, not only does Mark have some fantastic insights that will change the way you think about virtual interactions, but he's also a huge amount of fun. This episode contains more than its fair share of laugh out loud moments. So stand by for a fascinating discussion with Mark Bowden on communicating effectively in a virtual environment. Mark, welcome to the Human Risk podcast.
Christian, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And look, you are, I guess loosely defined, a body language expert. And I wonder if you could tell my listeners a little bit about how does one become a body language expert?
Yeah. So look, body language expert is kind of an entry point into that world of communication, influence and persuasion. I mean, to be honest, I am obsessed with human movement. Everything in the universe moves all the time. So it's the thing, movement is the thing that links us all and links us to all other matter as well in the universe. So I'm obsessed with human movement. And so I'm obsessed with how that changes people's perceptions of you. We judge each other. I judge you, you judge me. And we mainly judge each other based on how we're behaving. And movement is a huge part of human behavior. So that's my obsession. But really what it leads me into is communication, influence and persuasion, how you might be able to get people to do more of the things you think they should be doing for their benefit. You know, how do you change other people's behavior through your own behavior and the way you set up the environment around you?
And what was it in your career that teed you up to that point?
Yeah, so well, I mean, it started as a kid. I was obsessed with aquatic life. I wanted to be Jacques Cousteau, essentially, in the beginning. And so probably mainly because I wanted to own one of those big Omega diving watches or something like that, you know. But I was obsessed with how stuff moved under the sea. And so as a kid, I would go rock pooling and you know, pull out starfish and see how those moved. And I used to love watching sea anemones move underwater, and just amazed by that flow of movement. And then I got into visual arts, essentially started studying fine art as well. And again, got really obsessed with, well, what is it about those pictures that change our feelings and our thoughts? Because look, you go into an art gallery, okay, and you sit yourself in front, or you stand in front of a picture, and have you noticed that with some really good pictures, you know what's happening in the picture. You know what the person is thinking and feeling. You know what's going on there. Even, you know, it might be a vase of flowers and it has a feeling that it gives you. But let's just talk about the people, first of all. So how do you have empathy? How does your brain suddenly go, oh, I know what they're thinking. I know what's going on there. Like, how does that happen? And how did the artist know? And by the way, how does the artist make everybody feel the same thing as well? And how did the artist know the information to put in those human figures, the bodies and the faces, to trigger most people on the planet to think and feel the same thing about those people? And they're not even people. It's paint. It's two-dimensional paint on a canvas. I was obsessed with that. And then there was one time when I was walking down the street in London, and I suddenly, I jumped into the road because there was some kind of animal down the side of me that I reckoned was going to bite my ankles. Okay, and then I look and I think, hang on, it's just a paper bag blowing in the wind. So then I was like, what is it about the movement of that paper bag in the wind that triggered my fight and flight system? What is it about my system that predicted predator below, predator at ankle level? Now, some of it could have been my temperament at the time, so that's important. But what is it about the rhythm and the movement? What had to happen? So anyway, I got obsessed by all of this, went all over the world studying with the best people that I could find in that, started working in that area, in film, TV, theater, working with politicians, working with people in business as well, in advertising, in all kinds of communication, working with all kinds of people on constructing the movement, the rhythm of imagery in order to trigger an audience into a set pattern of behaviors. Hope that makes sense, Christian.
Wow. I love that. And it's really clear from the way you talk about it that you've fallen into your vocation and passion in a way that some people takes them a lot longer to discover. And it sounds like you got to that at an early stage and you kind of just went with your dreams. It's almost the antithesis, the classic career advice of do something sensible. Yeah. But you actually just kind of went with your dream. And I that's a lovely story.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I did stuff I started getting good at because I was obsessed by it, but also I had really good mentors and teachers who would also send me to others and go, okay, it's time for you to go and work with this person now. And so I had a really great track of people understanding what I was obsessed with, what I wanted to get good with, and sending me to the right people when they felt it was the right time to do that.
I mean, historically, your business, clearly there are famous people who would need to appear on television. Mm-hmm. But presumably most of these things were sort of teaching people how to present themselves in a physical space, so on stage or in front of an audience. Is that how the thing started? And obviously where I'm going to go with this is then ask you about the shift where we've all moved into becoming screen experts or amateurs, depending on.
Yeah. So it started off with theatre and film and TV, and with performers, with people who you would expect to be performing on TV, actors, presenters, dancers, models, the entertainment industry. And from that, some people, actually, I think it was during the .com crash, maybe. Some people came to me and said, "Oh, we got some clients who've got some really bad news. Can you help them can you help them deliver bad news and people listen to them?" Because they'd worked out the moment bad news comes, people stop listening. And I said, "Yeah, no, I've been doing this in theatre and film all the time. Like, we get people to watch disasters. We get them to fixate and to remember everything somebody said when some of the worst stuff is happening. And there's a specific way you do that. We've known in entertainment for a long, long time, if you do this wrong, people literally cover their eyes when you're trying to entertain them with the horror. And there's ways of making them fixate on the horror and take in all the information, but it's a set pattern. So I introduced them to that set pattern, what you have to do in order to get people to watch and remember the bad news. So I started doing that in business, and then I started doing that with politicians as well. And that opened me up to that bigger world of business and institutions and wider politics.
And it's fascinating if I think about sort of human evolution. If you go way back when, the sort of storytelling and ability to hold an audience was critical in sort of, earlier societies. And nowadays, that seems to be becoming more valuable as people, we use storytelling. It's much more obvious, I would say. And so I find it fascinating. It's almost a return to human roots in some respects. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's maybe more obvious because there are more people out there framing themselves as storytellers. I mean, everybody's out there going, "What are you?" "I'm a storyteller." It's like, I don't know whether you are really. I think you may be, nice framing of yourself, but I'm not sure you are. Look, we've not lost our storytelling ability at all, else we would be dead. Our storytelling is absolutely essential, because otherwise, how do you get people to pay attention to the knowledge so that other generations won't die of because they didn't learn? That was the point of storytelling: is somebody comes back and goes, I got to get people to pay attention to what just happened out there, because I just survived. And if they know how I survived, they can reproduce that. But how am I going to get them to fixate on this? Okay, well then storytelling of the drama evolves. It is, look, we only do, because of evolutionary psychology and survival of the fittest, we only tell stories because they work. And what do they work at? They work at prolonging our DNA, passing on our DNA. So storytelling is essential. It still exists. I think storytelling is more abundant right now just because more people are going, what am I going to call myself? Storyteller.
Right. That's really fascinating. And so about a year ago, we all sort of morphed from physical spaces into talking to each other via a screen. Presumably, you were already doing stuff for TV. And so was it much of a shift for you? Have you had to change your, I guess, upskill or change the way you did things? Or was that always in your sort of skill set?
Yeah, I'd worked for decades on how you work with cameras, be they TV or film or photographic, with arguably some of the best people in the world in that area. So I knew both ends of a camera really well. I knew what it was like to be an audience in that situation, and I knew what it was like to produce on one end of it, and I knew the equipment in between as well. But beyond that as well, I knew the history of all of that. And so when people come to go, oh, right, okay, I've got a camera in front of me, what do we do? And lots of people out there going, well, how do we do this? It's like, okay, we've been doing this for decades. It's all right. It's like when business got projectors and started projecting PowerPoint and going, well, how do we do this? Well, the Lumiere brothers worked it out pretty quickly, okay? But what you've not done is go back in the history of this piece of equipment. So here's what happened. Here's a classic one. Here's what happened with business. Business started projecting their paper. Okay, they started putting up black text on white paper. Okay. Now, why do we in the world do black text on white paper? Simply because it's cheaper. It's cheapest to bleach the paper and put a dark ink on it than darken the paper and put a white ink on it. It just uses less ink. Now, it's more readable if the paper is dark and the ink is white, because our eyes look to the light, not the dark. But so reading black text on white paper is not that good. It's just more economical. What does business do? It ignores the whole history. If you look at a film, the credits at the end are white on black. Why? Because it's easier to read. It's easier to read, and it uses less light as well. Okay, because the light element is smaller, and we look to the light as well, not the dark. Okay, what does business do? Let's just project our notes. And so they get all upset because it's like, yeah, but when I stand in front of the screen, it throws up huge shadows. Of course it does, you idiot. Because you paid no attention to have you no understanding of what the Lumiere brothers were doing? Have you not even looked at a film and gone, well, how would we do? So look, quite honestly, so it comes to TV. And people are like, well, how do I do this? And you're like, well, what's your favorite TV show? Like, what do you watch? They go, well, I like watching this. Well, you make it like that then. Just do a show like that. Just make it like that. Okay. The moment. So anyway, for me, not to be glib about it, but it is quite funny. For me, it's quite interesting because I really had made a point of understanding how that works and how it influences and persuades. And so for me, I can just look at what somebody's doing on the screen and go, here's what you need to do in order to crank this up so much more with so little effort. And I have decades of history of knowing that this technique works. So there's my thoughts on that.
But that is fascinating. And I was smiling because I was just thinking about the number of dull presentations I've sat through. And I knew there was something wrong, right? Which is I'm bored, right? That's a pretty good indicator something's wrong, either with me or with the presentation. But typically I prefer to blame the presentation. Right. But you just sit there and go, this is awful. And it fell inhuman. And it's that point around we just take what with the written, let's take the meeting agenda and put it up on the wall, and somehow it'll be a different experience. And you're absolutely right. And for me, PowerPoint, Microsoft Office, root of all evil, because you can look at spreadsheets, cause problems. Right. But PowerPoint is the devil's work because it encourages.
If only it were the devil's work. Now you put your finger on it there, because if only it were the devil's work, we would be interested in it. Understand, when we first started projecting images onto the walls of our buildings or our caves, we were projecting the gods and the demons up there. It was the world of shadows, the world of it's slightly translucent, slightly opaque. Like, what am I really looking at there? What really is it? It was the worlds of gods and demons. And now what do we put up there? Here's the agenda. Just tell me what the agenda is. Like, tell me where we're trying to go. What land are we trying to go from? What demons are we trying to run away from? If you're going to use the equipment of the gods, like, come with some ambrosia, because yeah, of course it's dull, because you're not making a powerful point. The agenda is not a powerful point. There is no power in the agenda unless that agenda comes from the gods, or it comes from demons, or there is some kind of drama in there. Then, yeah, put up the agenda. It's like, I'm shocked by the agenda. It shocked me by very
shock and awe, right?
Yeah. Thank goodness you threw it up on the wall there, where we can see it in its true horror. Or we can see the glorious place that the agenda is. It's like, it's just it is the mundane. And the moment you throw light onto a wall, you should not be in the world of the mundane anymore, unless you want to bore the hell out of people. Okay, and then be my guest. Go right ahead. But I guarantee you, they now have something in their own hand that can take them to a place that is way better. They can get on their digital device and they can go to the world that they want to be in, or they will just drift off in their own imagination, which is what that world is. When you throw the light up on the wall, you're dealing with the image, the imagination, the place of pictures. And so anyway, look, I can easily rant about this because it begs my belief as to what happens when you give, people a bit of equipment and they don't research what they have in their hand.
That's really fascinating. And you've made me think about sort of, those slides where people bullet points, and then I will read what the bullet points are, as if to go, you're a bunch of idiots who can't read this for yourself. And I'm somehow adding value by reading it out. And I think it's fascinating when you talk in those terms, because you're right. It's a tool that nobody has thought to try. I will just turn up and see what I can do with this thing. Now, you wouldn't do that with a piece of heavy machinery. No. Where you wouldn't say, let's just see what this can do as consequences. And I find it fascinating that as we look at some of these technologies, and it wasn't happening in meeting rooms. So you can bet in the transition to where we've got now, people suddenly haven't grasped the thing that they go, we need to think about what this can do. It's kind of like, I will just continue to do what I've done before, stick to my comfort zone. And then we wonder why it's not resonating.
Right, absolutely. Well, also, how good were our meetings in the first place? It's like there's a lot of stuff about, now we're doing these meetings via Zoom. I really hate them. You hated the meetings in the first place. You didn't they were no good in the first. Come on. First of all, you were going to work. You don't like work that much. Okay, anyway. And now you're in with a whole group of people you maybe don't want to be with so much anyway, drinking coffee you don't really want to drink. And it's a little bit kind of weird. And, and now you've transported that into your own home. And now we've added to that, because of that, we've added complexity, persona complexity to it, which is I'm not quite sure who I am anymore. Because now there's the me at home. I mean, it's all me, the me at home, the me at work, the me when I go to the shops, the me when I talk to my mum and dad on the phone. They're all me, but different elements of my persona come forward in order to manage and enjoy those different scenarios. It's all me, but an aspect of me comes more forward. Well, here, like Christian, you're in my home right now. Okay, you're in my home right now. This is my upstairs living room. Okay,
listeners, I'm not literally in his home, just to reassure anybody that thinks we're somehow breaching COVID regulations.
Okay, but yes, you're not literally in my home, but you're seeing my space, and I'm in that space right now. So my brain is going, "Oh, you just came from your bedroom back there down the corridor. I put on my work suit. This is what, if I came to your office, Christian, or I was doing a keynote, in your location, I'd got on a plane and I turned up and I was drinking coffee with people that I don't know, at prices that I think are ridiculous. I'd be in this suit. Right. So, and at home, I never wear this suit around the house. It's like, it's my work persona, but my work persona right now is in my home next to the sofa that pulls out into a sofa bed and turns into one of the guest rooms here. So there's some complexity happening here, and my brain is having to manage that complexity. But understand, entertainment has been managing that element of complexity for decades. So the business comes to it and doesn't go, so what have you guys been doing? How have you been dealing with this camera thing and how intrusive it can be into your personality? Like, what are you doing about that? Yeah, just stick the thing up and let's go. And meetings will be fine. They were horrible in the first place. They're now even worse for you.
And I'm relieved to have a green screen behind me because I've been doing some video shooting, so you don't get a sneak peek. But
right.
Again, it's interesting. Is it what image do you have on the green screen behind you? That's a decision. It's another thing I have to think about. So I just have a plain background at the moment. But you're right. There's a whole load of sort of things that if I thought about this as a video production,
right,
I would be having a different frame of contemplation, and that's sort of where I've got myself to. But for the average person, you're right. You sort of, particularly with laptops, I'll just open the laptop and the camera's kind of hidden in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm just sort of doing what I've always done. And so I haven't really thought about this transition that actually I'm now, my job now involves doing things that I've never really thought about doing before. And I've probably never been trained.
Yeah, I mean, there's the thing. Like, I just opened my laptop and now I'm on a Zoom call. Well, you're still using your laptop as a laptop. It's a camera now. So now and what do we do with cameras? On the whole, when we want to, we want the audience to feel like we're on the level with them. We put the camera at exactly eye level. We do not have height dominance over them, and they do not have height dominance over us. But if you're using your laptop as a laptop, the camera, you'll have huge height dominance over the camera. And so the audience will not like you very much because they are dominant and they're seeing up your nose and they're not seeing any context. So for example, you've got a background there, Christian, which is just kind of plain blue. And so I don't have any context for you. And my brain, just like everybody else's brain out there, judges you not only based on the behaviors that you're showing up with, but also the context that those behaviors are in. And all you've given me is a color context. But you're right in saying, hey, but how do I decide? How do I decide? Well, in the world of entertainment, nice medieval Latin word from entretenere, to hold together. So in the world of entertainment, all we're trying to do is hold together an idea. That's all. That I get the idea, and I'm able to hold it with you. You're able to hold the idea with me. So, Christian, this podcast that we're doing now, and I know people are listening, but we can see each other. But imagine it was a video podcast. What's the idea of this show?
The idea is to get people thinking about human behavior and thinking about what drives our decision making and how can we get interesting interesting experiences and knowledge about what drives human decision making, so that we can, I don't know, have a better understanding of what's going on in the world, so that we can understand our own decision making, so that if our job involves influencing others, we have so a little bit more in our toolkit.
Yeah, lovely. So you don't have to get this right or this idea be any good, but what's your best guess, very quickly off the top of your head, of an image that could kind of suggest that? Not encapsulate it, but it's like, it's a starting point. It's a suggestion. What's your best guess?
Well, so I've used pictures of the brain before. I've used little Lego people. I mean, I tend to mix it up. And I thought so it's interesting. I haven't landed on anything that I consistently want to use. And in fact, part of it's interesting because I end up looking at myself. I tend to mix it up a little bit, actually, because I get bored of the same picture.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So look, those are all good ideas because they are suggesting the world and they've come from you, and it's something else that I can easily relate to as well. Those Lego figures, it's like, I've done Lego as a kid, my kids do Lego, I have a great relationship with Lego. So not only now do I start looking at Christian, but I've got Christian in the context of Lego, and I already have an emotional attachment to Lego, and it's a really good, strong, positive emotional attachment. Now, I know that might not be for everybody. Some of you may have had some horrific, I don't know, everybody stood on a piece of, if you've got kids, you've stood barefoot on Lego. Okay. And he's like, ow, but I think, the good experiences outweigh most of the bad ones around Lego. So, and so now I might go, okay, so is there an area of your home that you would be willing, the risk of showing me that outweighs the risk of the positives of showing me that outweigh the risks of showing me that? Is there an area of your home that has some kind of suggestion of what we're talking about in this show? Give me some feedback on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. And actually, so part of the reason that I have a sort of studio set up with green screen is, one, I do a load of videos, but secondly, I've got all my equipment plonked there. So you're absolutely right. And I've been considering, is actually a living room setting, is that more relaxed? Does that transmit a certain dynamic? Do I want to do some stuff outside? Probably not so smart with the British weather on average,
right?
But it's a very interesting point, and I think I guess I've got so fixated on having sort of camera rigs and equipment that is less mobile, that I've tended not to move into that direction for some of these pieces.
Yeah, but you're working your way through it. You're going, okay, look, I want to concentrate on my rig right now, and that's good. And now we could say, okay, let's concentrate on that background because I need, we as the audience need to have a relationship with you. And if you take away context that we can't relate to, it's tougher for us to have a relationship with you. And when insufficient data, we default to negatives. Okay, so if we don't see anything, we don't go, oh, good, I can't see the context there. That's a good thing. I'm really happy about that. Our instinct goes, that is really bad, because there's a lot of stuff we're not seeing. So what we're going to do is make up a bad story about that in our heads. Better to be safe than sorry. We're more optimistic if we can see more of you. And I'm not saying, Christian, that you should show your home, okay? But you should show something which is related to you. And you can always take a picture of a part of your home which has the right aspect to it and put that up the back. So, for example, if we couldn't be in this part of my home together, or I needed to use a green screen, what I would do is take a picture of my kitchen, because the main thing I do outside of talk with you and other people via a camera is I cook in the kitchen. I'm a massive fan of cooking. I studied molecular gastronomy. So I'm big into that area, and I got really lovely equipment that I love, and I love the kitchen. Also, it's my way of showing people that I really care about them, is to cook for them. So I would take a picture of my kitchen, I would put it up, and I would sit in my kitchen with you. And I'd say it's a picture. I'd say, hey, I wanted to meet today with you in my kitchen. We can't actually be in my kitchen today because, there's people in there and it would disturb us. But I love being in the kitchen and cooking for people. It really helps me, show people that I care. And then I would say, so what's important for you about showing care for people? I might say something like that, because if I deliver them some personal information about my value system, and then I push it back on them, they're quite likely to deliver back to me some personal value system information about them. And that's super valuable, because their value system is why they do what they do, why they behave in the way they behave. And their value system on one aspect of their life, that value system is probably projecting a whole other different part of their life as well, their world of work. If I work out their value system for home, I can probably work out that's going to be their value system for work as well. So I hope that makes sense to you, Christian.
Yeah, I mean, that's fascinating, because you're really taking this idea of, I guess, the sort of theatrical cinematographic concepts and saying this matters. And that plays into everything from where you position the camera, the backdrop that you have, the set, if you like, that you're performing on. And I think that is sort of miles away from the idea of, well, I've just got a camera on the laptop, I'll just flip it up and go away from that. This really is about setting the stage. And when you talk in those terms, I mean, you're a director talking there, really, around how do we set the stage here to give the audience the impression that we want to give?
Yes, because we have a specific outcome in mind for that audience. Okay, and we're not going to. And sure, we could leave it up to chance. We could go, hey, if it happens, it happens. But look, I've only got so long on the planet. And in terms of business and communication, I only have a certain budget. I only have a certain amount of resource to get the results that I'm looking for. So look, I'm not saying this work is maybe not for everybody. Okay, maybe for you, it is fine for you to flip up your laptop lid and go, hey guys, let's have the meeting. Okay, maybe that's fine. My guess is you have a monopoly, or you work for a government organization and you're not getting voted out in the next week. Like, you don't care. Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether they join in or don't join in. You still get paid exactly the same. Nobody can fire you, and everybody has to buy your product, or you cannot be deposed at this point. For anybody else out there who has competition, you might want to be looking at, how do I very cheaply, for a small amount of resource, just nudge the dial on this in a way that at the other end of the camera, it becomes exponential. Okay, we were talking earlier about the PlexiCam, which is just this little device that we know that hangs over a screen, and it puts your camera right in the middle of the screen, which means you can get much better eye contact. And what is it? It's a piece of Perspex. Okay, it's a piece of Perspex that you can hang a camera on. It's bent with heat. Okay, you can, if you're handy with Perspex, you can make your own. Essentially, it's not, but for that cheap idea, you're suddenly getting more eye contact. You're able to see what's happening in the screen as well. Hey, maybe you've raised your screen to eye level. I do this thing with getting a laptop and sticking it on a box from Amazon and instantly upping the power of your image on camera exponentially. Okay. And I know you already have a box from Amazon because I've seen the Amazon share price. Okay, so I know you have a box, and I know you're about to throw it out. So for zero cost, a recycling cost, okay, all you're doing is raising your laptop, the camera to eye level, and you got a whole different world for you. Now, what does that mean? You can't type on your laptop anymore particularly well, okay? So that's the downside. Everything costs something. You can't win without losing something, okay? You're going to manage the risks around that, but it's okay. You can get something called you can get like a Bluetooth keyboard. You don't even have to plug it in. It can be down the side of you. You got 2 keyboards. Like, it's easy. You notice how people quickly put up barriers. Yeah, but I won't be able to type. Yes, you can. You just get, but that'll cost me something. I see people throw them out on the street all the time. So I pick one up off the street, like borrow one from a friend. It's like, it doesn't, like, it's just technology. It's super low cost. People are throwing this stuff out all the time. And the most it's ever going to cost you is $50 or something. Don't know what that is.
I read a lovely piece, which I think plays to this, which sort of said, if you work in an office, you will be spending money on a suit or work clothes. So why wouldn't you spend a bit of money on camera and other things that'll make you, because isn't that the same thing?
Absolutely. So the suit that I'm wearing at the moment, this is an Etro suit. So anybody who knows Etro will know this suit has cost me, I don't know, like $3,000 to $4,000, something like that. It's a pretty expensive suit. Why is it so expensive? Well, if you're in the same room with me, you can absolutely see the quality of that Italian material, hand stitched. Like, your brain will go, oh, that's nice. Ah, yeah. So Mark has nice suits. Well, Mark must have a lot of money. Why does he have a lot of money? Because he earns a lot of money. Why does he earn a lot of money? He must be really good. I might be good. I might be bad. I'm just giving you the impression. Now, I cannot disappoint you. Okay, if I give you the sense of, hey, I'm really good at this, here's the signals instantly off the bat, so you can trust me immediately, and then 10 minutes in, you're like, this guy's a total idiot. That's called disappointment, and you don't like disappointment. Okay, here's what I do: I show you the suit, and you go, oh, "This is going to be really good," and then I exceed your expectations, and you go, "Whoa! I thought it was going to be good. This is amazing." Okay. So there's that. Now, it just so happens, Christian, your brain was probably going, the quality of that suit, I can't see anything. Okay, and this is a really good camera. Right. Okay, this is $2,000 of camera I'm coming to you with, and $1,000 of it is just the lens. Okay, so half of it is just the lens, and it's being converted in another box, which is $500, which is then going to a computer, which is $10,000. Okay, all to try and eke the very best possible out of this moment. Okay. And so, and I haven't ironed my shirt this morning, but I guarantee you can't see that.
Yeah.
You can't see that because this beautiful picture being created is downscaled so much on the internet. But if I were just to show you me through my laptop camera, it would be so much more degraded. So I'm trying to get the best out of it. Now, yeah, that's like over $10,000 of equipment, maybe even 15. And I got a lot of light in the room as well. So there's a lot of cost going on there, but this is all I do at the moment. And so what will a business spend on being the very best it can in that moment, because it's in competition? If you don't have any competition, if you have a monopoly, if you are already Prime Minister and you're not going into election right now, you don't need any of this. You don't need to talk to anybody, actually. Here's the key: say nothing, do nothing. If you have a monopoly, they have to buy anyway. If you're already in government, they have to be governed by you right now. Okay, you're best to shut up and do nothing right now. Okay, the more you speak, the more mistakes you'll probably make. Okay, come and see me.
And there are plenty of role models that we can see doing exactly that, right?
Oh, it's like the first thing you do with a politician the moment they win. It's like, okay, now shut up. Now do nothing. First year, do nothing. Do nothing. Like just let all of that blow over. Do nothing. Let's start to do something around year 2. Let's not say too much. Okay, and let's really ramp up for the next, when we hit the next 5 years and try and get back in. Again, I might be being a little bit glib about that, but I've had a good few turns at that particular gig.
And I love that, because it makes perfect sense, right? If you're not saying anything, you can't offend anybody or disappoint them. You're just
absolutely. And look, I say this, Christian, because I know you're in this area of risk all great communication is a risk, or everything runs the risk of getting it wrong, offending, because you only talk to people. Well, there's a couple of reasons to talk to people, to communicate. One is because you've got this neocortex and it has to do something. So that's just like we get together and we just talk nonsense. Okay. And that's just fun for the brain. That's just the brain has got, what am I going to do with my neocortex today? Find another human being and just talk nonsense with them just because I can. That's great. That's pleasure. That's fun. And the other reason is things aren't going right. Things are going wrong. It's not as good as you want it to be. And other people don't understand how it should be, or they're doing it, they do, but they're not getting it right, or everybody understands, but they're not doing it together. And all of that other communication runs the risk of offense, runs the risk of me going, Christian, you got it wrong, mate. Christian, can you work with the other people, please? Christian, can you do it faster? Can you do it slower? Christian, how do you think this should be? You tell me, and I go, Christian, you have that completely wrong. I'm so sorry. Like, this is why we're all going to die, because of this idea you have in your head. All of it. And all the other communication is like, shall we just talk nonsense for fun? So it all runs huge risk. And so we as communicators have to find ways to mitigate that risk, to work with that risk, and having good equipment, making that as good as you can, being able to work that. But most importantly, being able to perform in a way that influences and persuades is really important.
Wow. So much to unpick there. But I want to drag you onto the videos that you put online, which is one of the things which are just fabulous contributions to this, because I've seen a lot of videos that sort of tell you this is the piece of equipment and you did a lovely thing that went, let me show you what the difference is between spending $50, $100, and you kind of ramped it up.
Yeah.
And you could see the difference on screen. And I wanted to firstly, on behalf of anyone that's watched those, say thank you, because it's the first one I've seen that, one, wasn't peddling a particular product.
Right.
And secondly, was lovely because you could, for the first time, go, I now see the step, or I don't steps. And I think, what inspired you to do that? Because there's just a great contribution to sort of general awareness.
Well, I think it was my own experience of going, okay, what equipment should I buy? When about a year and a half ago, I guess it is now, or certainly a year ago, when this hit the world, I was using the equipment that I was using on the platforms that I'd been using. And now I started going, okay, I'm going to be doing this every day. So like, I need a decent suit. I need to know I have equipment that works every time. Like, I know my suit isn't going to fall to bits. Okay. I know it's industrial.
It's not going to fall apart like a cheap suit, literally.
Right. It's industrial level. Okay. It's designed for a certain purpose, to look fantastic for as many days as it possibly can, with as little work on it as possible. Okay. The materials of it are great. It's put together in a great way. So I'm like, okay, what equipment? I've got some of that equipment. I need more of that equipment. In some cases I need 2 of those pieces just in case one does fail, because it does have a failure rate. What is that failure rate? So I started buying equipment and testing equipment. I bought a lot of stuff, and a lot of it was not good. And some of it you just went, thank you, because this works at a level, for that price, this works at a level that I am satisfied with. And I think that's what we all want. We all want to go, I had that in my budget. This has over-delivered. For that budget, I'm totally satisfied. And I found some pieces of equipment out there that you just went, that is totally satisfactory. For that price, that is good enough and more. And I wanted to let people know about that. And I wanted to let them know, what do you get if you add more resource to that? And can I let you see whether you think that's going to be worth it for you? And it was especially important because returning stuff got hard. Okay. And I know what that's like when you get something and you go, well, that doesn't work. And how do I get that back to the store now? It's like, I can't.
Right.
So I started going, so what am I going to do with all this stuff?
So this is virtue out of necessity,
right? I'm going to make some value out of this. Not that I'm making any money out of the videos. They really are for you. They're like, hey, here's how I'm going to make some value out of this. I'm gonna help people out there, and look, maybe they'll like me more because I help them. So that's how that came about, and can I do that in an entertaining way as well?
And you absolutely did, and I loved it because it's sort of, if nothing else, I mean, I've been talking to people about saying you really need to up your camera, and go, yeah, and nobody had put it in those terms, and you sort of go, of course, commercials for things are going to make them look good.
Yeah,
and I loved it because it was, as I say, it was this sort of very neutral, and you're very frank about sort of, this is probably not worth it for you. And helpful, but I loved it because it serves as a thing. Here's somebody who really specializes in this stuff telling you about this. So I just point to that now and go, watch this, and then we'll come back and have a discussion.
Yeah, that's great.
About whether you still think it's important.
That's
so
great.
You've provided a community service for those that are motivated to make the change.
Yeah.
But it's also just been really helpful for me, just having an indication that actually this is something that's worth thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I would point people. There's a great one that I did with my friend Scott Rouse from the Behavior Panel. And Scott used to be a pretty big record producer. I mean, he's worked with some of the biggest acts out there. So he knows, the business end of a microphone. He knows how to more than how to plug that thing in. Okay. And we put my microphone setup against his microphone setup. And you'd think he would have, he has incredible studio mics, but he's just using a $50 USB mic from Best Buy. And it sounds fantastic. I mean, you would never go, so that's a $50 mic. You just go, well, that's a really serious mic. And we put it up against my setup, which is kind of MacGyvered together, but it's like $1,000 maybe of stuff. And his just sat, for my money, his sounds much better. Certainly from a value point of view, you would never spend the amount of money that I'd spend. You'd simply go, where do I get that? As many people did, they went, where do I get that mic?
Right. And are you satisfied with your gear, or are you one of these people that's like, oh, I need the next thing, new camera's out, I will try that?
I just bought. I mean, I just yesterday I ordered another $1,000 of lighting. It's just, well, look, I'm used to film sets and TV sets, which are, lit so brightly that you walk in and you're like, your eyes have to adjust, to a normal level and close down after a while. And I don't know, my setup here, you can probably see that I'm really well lit. The background for me is a bit dark and I've got a lot of light on it. But in order to really get that background really bright, okay, as bright as I would like it, like that, I'm now too bright. Okay. Yeah. Which means I've got to have like a ton more light on my background, like 4 times the amount of light on my background. This room is going to get hot in the summer. Put it like that. And I'm not, I don't wear a t-shirt on camera. So, but anyway, look, here's what I'm saying. I'm doing all of this in my home office. This is really my home, and you don't have to do what I'm doing. I just like the body language thing. I'm obsessed. And so I'm going to get obsessed. I'm going to buy stuff. I'm going to test it out. I will put up as much as I possibly can on what's working and what isn't working. But from your point of view, and for me, you as my audience, you're the person at home trying to do the very best they can in a competitive market with what you've got. And I want to help people, use as little resource as possible and get the maximum effect out of it. So I test all that equipment as well. And it's not just equipment. It's like, how do you set things up better for free? Yeah. How do you make a better picture? How do you have a better performance for the camera? But I'll do all of that. And some ridiculous equipment that you will never want to buy, just so you can see, oh, I'd never want to buy that. That is for somebody like Mark, who is just obsessed with this. It hasn't made the blindest bit of difference.
But I love it because I watch those things and I remember thinking, well, and even I kind of like, to give you a sense, right? So I have certain camera, so I tend to buy the used bodies and the new lens, right?
Good
Because
idea.
why would I? So
Totally.
I have certain alerts that I've set up to let me know when certain used camera, just so I can monitor the price. And then I might accidentally press a button, and I don't know, something happens, right? It's just so I love watching this stuff, but I view yours. I kind of go, wow, he's even processed that, and I love it because it's a bit like when I look at one of those sort of luxury magazines, and you go, here's the ridiculous. Here is the Bluetooth connected coffee machine that does, I don't know, that also makes spaghetti, right? Who would buy that? And then I just think it's you, and I love it that there's someone out there who not only is that person, but talks about it.
Oh, listen, there are some people out there worse than I am. There's some people out there with full body, full frame, cameras like that. There's no way you could hang on a monitor. It would crush the monitor. There's people with those where even I go, you idiot. That is doing no. There's a certain level where it doesn't help. So, for example, you got the people who have put a lens on their camera, so they're trying to get this what we call the bokeh effect in the background, where the background, because of the lens, and you've opened the aperture really wide, it's blurring the background. And in photography, and really beautiful photography, and some film, it's a really beautiful look. In TV, which is really what we're making here, I would say. We're not making film. We're making TV here. And the reason I say that is that TV is so much more about community. When TV works really well, it's about you feeling connected right now to people in your community, whether it's yes, you are being connected with people, in the Yemen getting bombed, and you're like, that's a human being just like me who's getting bombed right now. It's like, I feel that. That's that community feeling. And film doesn't do that so well. Film creates a romanticism around that, a big drama and a big romanticism. TV makes a very quick connection with human beings around that. We're making TV, and the bokeh effect does not show up a lot in TV at all. But anyway, people get their big cameras and their big lenses out. They've got this big bokeh effect going on, and my brain just goes, I can't properly see what your background is. I don't know your context. I'm now worried. Like, what are you trying to hide from me? Like, what's going on there? My brain doesn't see what a beautiful picture. But they tend to be photographers. They tend to be like, I'm trying to capture myself in that film photography way. It's like, you're not making a film right now. This isn't about having a beautiful photograph. It's about connecting people together. And look, I really want people to pay attention to that. If you're doing something right now that you feel really connects you with that audience, be it one or many on the other side of that camera, keep on doing that, turn that up. If there's anything that you're doing which you think might be disconnecting you from the people, I'm not saying stop doing that, but try doing something else and see what that. It's hard to stop stuff. Christian, from behavior. It's like very difficult to say, don't do that. No, just try and add something else in there that connects people better. This is only all this equipment, all this chat that we're having about how you perform and what gear you put in there. It's only a means to the end. And the end product is, did we feel connected? Did we feel a moment of going, I know this person, I recognize them, I recognize their position, I feel something for them. It doesn't have to be something huge. Like, I feel like I understand them a little bit. I feel like I know them a little bit. Can we get a connection? That's all it's about.
Right. And amazing stuff. We can keep going forever, but I can't let you go without talking about truth and lies, which sounds like an awful opener. You will know what I'm talking about. My listeners won't. So can you just tell my listeners what they can expect if they read it?
Yeah, so Truth and Lies is the most recent book that I wrote with co-author Tracy Thompson. Truth and Lies, what people are really thinking. It's a book about critical thinking disguised as a book on body language, I would suggest. The publishers came to me and said, will you write a book on reading body language? And I instantly said, no, I'm not going to do that. There's a lot of stuff out on that already. It's really good stuff. There's also some really terrible stuff out on that. But I don't know what I have to add to the good stuff that's already out there. And I put down the phone, and then I thought, that was a bit silly. I shouldn't have said that.
I'm revising my opinion to the opposite.
Done myself out of a book there. Like, what on earth did I do that? So I sat down with Tracy and I said, what would a really good book on body language be? Like, how would we really actually contribute to this? And what we worked out was really to understand people better and understand the truth and lies of the ideas that you're making up about people and they're making up about you, and get those ideas more accurate. Actually, what you need is a critical thinking method, but you need one that you can do in seconds. You can, at seconds, walk into a room, look at somebody and go, here's my instantaneous judgment about them, okay? How can I shift that judgment, come up with a new judgment, which is critically thought out really fast, put it against the old judgment, and now work the two together while I'm having the conversation with people to work out what is more true or more false about what is going on here. And so the book has lots of stuff on reading body language that you're all going to really, really love. But at its heart, it's how do you think better about people in a really fast way.
And I love that, because very often you get these sort of theories. This is how you do critical thinking. You're like, yeah, that would require me to freeze frame the world.
Yes.
And kind of contemplate and look round the side. Right, not helpful. Whereas what I loved about reading it was it's realistic, right? This is stuff you can actually use.
Good.
And not just use because you're brilliant at this stuff, but actually all of us can pick up.
Absolutely. Yeah, this critical thinking piece is really important, because if you do critical thinking all the time, you die. Like, if you can imagine crossing the road and doing critical thinking, well, I believe the trajectory of that vehicle is like, you're dead. Sorry.
Right, and evolution would have a really good point in wiping you out, because you'd be really
totally
dumb
would
as well.
have a good point. Like, this person is too smart for our own good, not for their own good. Just for every generation afterwards. Like, nobody should think like this.
And they won't have any friends either.
You know, no friends at all. Let me critically think that joke. It's like, no, just laughing will be fine. Like, that will get us to the point that we need. I don't need you to break down. I think it was Ken Dodd. Ken Dodd was, so for any listeners that don't know, Sir Ken Dodd, one of Britain's greatest comedians ever, if not potentially for some the best. Anyway, somebody was talking to him about Freud's theories on comedy, and Ken said, "Oh yes, very very interesting theories there, but I don't think he ever had to play Glasgow Empire second sitting." So basically going, look, you can talk about jokes. But the key is can you go and tell one and get a laugh out of people when their life is miserable, essentially.
Brilliant stuff, and clearly comes highly recommended. Look, final question is: you've obviously you've got a ton of different things you do. Where's next for you? What's the next, apart from buying more equipment? What's the next sort of stage of the evolutionary process?
Listen, don't think of me as just some kind of tech head that goes and buys equipment and makes. That's kind of the
sideline
side offer that I have for the public, just for my fun and your fun, and to help you out. Look, what I'm doing the majority of time is doing keynote speeches. Virtually at the moment, though we will get back to live eventually, and there will be hybrids, and I'm really enjoying being in front of the camera and helping people around that. So in the main way that I help people at the moment is to do keynotes for small, large organizations via camera to your teams on often leadership, sales teams, on how to present via camera, whether it's meetings, whether it's presentations, whether it's one-on-one or to many, how to do this really, really well in an influential and persuasive way. You'll find me at truthplane.com, TRUTHPLNAE, or just Google Mark Bowden and up I'll come. Check me out. Link in with me as well.
And the other place you'll find you is, of course, in the show notes, where I'll put links to the video, Links to all of the things that we talked about. I'll go through and pull all those bits out because we discussed a range of different things. Mark, thank you so much, firstly, for the videos and your output, because it really genuinely is engaging. And of course, you wouldn't be in the business that you were in and be so successful if you didn't have the ability to engage an audience. And you certainly have done that in your output. You've really done that on the podcast. So thank you so much for all of that.
My pleasure. Great being with you. I'll be back with you anytime you like.
Amazing. Thank you. So that's it for another episode of the Human Risk Podcast. My enormous thanks to Mark for appearing and to you for listening. To find out more about Mark, his books, the videos that we referred to, and a number of other links to things we discussed, have a look in the show notes. If this is your first time listening to the Human Risk Podcast, welcome. You can subscribe wherever you get your quality audio content. It's available on all of the major podcasting platforms. To find out more about human risk and the work that I do with my clients, visit human-risk.com. There you'll find details of the Human Risk newsletter, blog, and video blog. I'll be back very soon with another episode of this show, but in the meantime, stay safe and thanks for listening.